from Los Angeles. Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. Our next guest is a mental conditioning specialist. Clay Moffat, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. Pleasure to be here.
So what is a mental conditioning specialist?
Well, it's kind of like a collaboration between mindset and something more.
Yeah.
Because what happens is I see a lot of mindset specialist coaches, which is really, really good and really, really empowering. But mindset's an attitude. And what I learned from the military and then from a lot of other aspects of my life is that your attitude can change depending on what's happening. But in an intense environment or a stressful environment, you will resort to your base level conditioning. And that's why doctors always train. That's why the military always does drills. And they're just repeating and repeating and repeating so that, like pilots, right? When everything's going to hell and like everything's falling apart, they always know that they've got this procedure to flick on each thing in the perfect moment so that they just land safe every time because they've been conditioned. So what I do is I work with people and I get them to condition their mind to start to respond in certain ways and start to create these patterns inside their unconscious so that they can start to, regardless of what's going around, they can start to always continue to get the same results.
Oh,
Clay, what was your personal journey, though, to discovering that for yourself?
Well, I was a bit of a juvenile delinquent. And let's call it a late bloomer. My mum, who's still alive, I don't know how, and my dad. I had some issues at school and issues with, let's say, supposed and pretended authority. And so I thought I'd solve that by joining the military, which was a really bad decision. And
it's a hard place to be for a person who struggles with authority figures.
Exactly, right? But I was in the military for 8 years. And then I left the military, which I was really happy I did, and then started working in the energy sector in oil and gas as an engineer. And I kept on running into the same problems. I kept on getting resistance from people. I kept on upsetting people without even trying to upset them. Basically, I had this massive failure to communicate with people. And that kind of led to me not being understood or understanding myself. I had a problem with alcohol. And so at the ripe young age of 26, took me a while, slow learner, right? I eventually figured out that the rest of the world wasn't the problem. I had to look within. And so I started trying to understand, how do I change these things? What can I learn to improve? What can I do to change these things? And so I started diving into psychology books, persuasion books, hypnosis books, NLP books, like anything I could find to try and start changing the way that my brain started interacting with things.
In all those books and all these concepts, what was the first thing that really resonated with you?
The first thing that really resonated would probably be the principle and the understanding that everything's about perspective. And that the biggest thing that I've taken away is that based on, this is why mindset is such a crucial part, based on the attitude that you bring, it's going to determine what you see in the world. Right? So if you come in with a really negative attitude, and this has actually been proven by Dr. Paul Ekman, and if you've seen that show, Lie to Me, you know about the emotion refractory period, right? So let's pretend that two people are having this argument and they're going back and forth, and then person A walks and leaves a room, and then they come back into the room. And person B does something which is, I don't know, ridiculous. Like they drop a spoon, it makes this ting. And then person A suddenly flares up and goes into this whole thing, and the whole thing kicks off again. Because our neurology, yours, mine, everybody, is designed to like hold on to a serious emotion and it will trigger straight back in there. And so when I realized that perspective is everything, it came about exactly what you were speaking about earlier this morning, emotional intelligence, right?
Yes.
Which I kind of like akin to maturity in a way.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I mean,
it's people call it sanity.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was like this whole thing. And so when I started realizing that I could shift my perspective, then I was like, well, this is a game changing. Like, sure, I mean, like there's still like a war going on in another country, or this is happening, but like you can literally change the whole way you interpret the world in just a moment when you learn how to shift.
So with this perspective change, what was the first way your world kind of
started
changed?
to shift?
Yeah.
I started to give myself a break, to be honest.
Yeah.
I used to really hammer myself, and I had a lot of false bravado would probably be the best word. Like on the outside, no one knew that I was going through all this stuff, and it wasn't even that bad, you know. But I realized that every mistake or every bad turn, shall we say, was a result of me. It wasn't like this external force, and that was the most empowering thing that I've ever found, because it meant I could change it. Right? It meant that I didn't have to be stuck here. It meant that I didn't have to And it was like the saying, everyone's talking about being at causation, right? Be at the cause, be at the cause. And I never really got what they meant. But then when I got that perspective, it was like, okay, you can change. Like, you can really change. And then everything changed with you, you know? And it was beautiful. It was amazing. And then it's just been about not trying to push that onto other people. So I'm really bad at marketing. I'm really horrible at it, which is why Mike kind of helped me out, right?
Yeah.
Special shout out to Mike, the makeover master.
Exactly. It's helped me out so much. And really good friend of mine, really beautiful human being. But with that, what's going on is there's just so many dynamics, right? And there's so many moving pieces and juggling pieces that it's just really important to understand that when you start to make this one shift, everything else can just start to shift with it.
Such a good point, and I think that provides people like a lot of solace and consolation, because the concern when you first start the work is that it feels like so much to overcome.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But when you make this tiny little shift and you stay consistent with it and you do your best to even enjoy it, all of a sudden all these other ripple effects that you would have never scripted or couldn't have scripted or planned for begin happening on their own. So what began happening in your life? How did the rest of your life begin to shift? Because now you offer, of course, coaching and training to people who want to do the same.
So it was and you actually like hit on a really solid point there. It wasn't like everything did change overnight, but it was the way I describe it is like climbing a mountain. Right? You don't climb the mountain by looking at the top of the summit. You're never going to get there. You're going to fall off a cliff or something. Like, you got to look where you're putting your feet. Right?
Oh, it's huge.
Right, and you got to keep trekking. And like I had a real life experience of that when I climbed Kilimanjaro. Right, you get to this false summit, you're like, oh, we've made it. And like, oh no, it's so much further to go.
Yeah.
So what I started to notice was, honestly, life got easier. You know, it just got easier. It seemed the emotion control started to improve. Now technology, I still have these things with technology.
I do too.
It's like the bane. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I just really started to notice I could connect with people, and I could start to connect with people in a way that like adds meaning, you know, and start to build a relationship. And it was just a beautiful experience.
Tell everyone where they can follow you and work with you if you're interested.
Oh, wow. Okay. So claymoffat.com is the website, which is currently being redone again by the makeover master. Or I've got another membership website, which is the Grey Zone Underground. And that's more of a colloquial thing where I get together with a lot of specialists and we build trainings together for people in certain areas of their life. So one of those two.
Great.
I'm not really on Instagram, or you can connect with me on Facebook if you want as well. So.
Well, thank you very much, Clay. We
Welcome.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow on Good Morning La La Land.